Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So, if you're watching this video, you've most likely already seen the 500,000 videos covering Alex Aster and her controversy and her infamous TikTok book Lightlark and all that stuff. But while everyone always talks about Lightlark and all that kind of stuff, and she wants to present it as her debut, no one ever really talks about her actual debut, Curse of the Night Witch. So that's what we're going to do today. If you notice that I'm looking down a lot, I'm looking at my script. So that's why I do need a script. So I'm looking down on my script if you notice my eyes are down here a lot. All right, let's address first and foremost how this video came to be. Cuz it really did happen by chance. I really wasn't planning on making this video at first. So I had to get my library card renewed about 2 weeks ago when I'm filming this, and I wasn't really planning on checking anything out that day. But then I saw this gorgeous cover. I will insert a picture somewhere around here because I returned the book already. But I found this book that had this gorgeous cover. It had and it sounded interesting reading what it was about. And so I was just curious, okay, it's pretty, it sounds interesting. I'm curious. Let's check it out and read it. I didn't even realize it was by the Lightlark author until I decided to look her up because the name sounded familiar, but I couldn't exactly place it. And then when I was about halfway through the book, the idea for this video finally came about. So yeah, all that is to say that I didn't go into this with the intention of hating the book or jumping in on the bandwagon hate for Miss Astor, which I feel like that's a very important to establish. I didn't go into this with negative intentions because this is going to be a very negative video. So let's get into it. So, what is Curse of the Night Witch about? This is Alex Astor's debut novel and the first book in the Emblem Island duology. It is a middle grade fantasy series with Latin American inspirations. Cool, good, fun, love all that. The plot of this book is that a young boy lives on this island where everyone has magic tattoos that they're born with that grant them special talent and determine their role in society. If you're born with a knife tattoo on your wrist, then you're really good at cooking and will grow up to be a chef, for example. The main boy, Tor, has the gift of leadership and is being trained to one day take his mother's place as the leader of his village and absolutely hates it. He absolutely hates that. He does not want that. That is not the life he wants. So he wishes for a new emblem so that he can choose a different life for himself. The gods grant him this wish, but instead of a new talent, he gets cursed to die within a week. So now him and his two friends, Engel and Melda, who also got infected with his curse, because it apparently spreads like a disease if you touch it or something. They are all off on an adventure to find the mythical Night Witch, who is said to be the only person in existence strong enough to break the curse. So, in theory, it sounds like a cute, adventure novel, and that's exactly what I was hoping that it would be, but yeah. It's an adventure book. I can't really say it's fun. Let's get into it. So, since we've established what this book is about, let's talk about the positives, and then we can go through the 5 billion negatives that I have to say about this book. So, what are the positives of this thing? Number one, the world is fun and exciting for the most part. There's multiple different villages on the island, each with their own distinct way of life, such as one being obsessed with beauty and riches, another being led by giants and focused on training warriors, another being an abandoned ghost town only inhabited by a cannibal, etc. So that's really fun. And I like the different myths and beasts that are associated with the island. Not necessarily how they were implemented in the story itself, but just the ideas and concepts behind the different myths were cool. There's mermaids and two-headed snakes and face snatchers and zombies and witches with telekinesis to control their hair to kill people, etc., etc. The author said that the Latin American folklore from her childhood had heavy inspiration on the series, but I'm not Latinx, so I can't really speak on what stories influenced this book or like how well they were adapted. But just like in general, I like the different little like lore dumps about the different myths on the island. Another thing that I liked, uh, um, I guess the main characters weren't annoying. Like, I guess they were not annoying. I don't know. I'm kind of scraping the barrel now, like after those first two reasons. So let's move on to my issues that I have with this book. Okay, let's move on. So I'm not exactly sure like whether to make this my founding point or my climactic point, but maybe everything else that I have problems with will make more sense if I start out with my biggest issue. So here's my biggest issue with this book. What not only annoyed me, but actually angered me about this book is that it just felt sloppy and lazy. Like, the author, it felt like she gave up while writing this. Like, halfway or like three quarters through the book, the writing got to a point where it just literally felt like the author like gave up and just like was putting words on the page to get to the end. Like, that's literally how this book felt to me. And to me, that's infuriating for the simple fact that this is aimed towards children, and kids deserve better than lazy, messy, half hearted books that feel thrown together. Now, I want to compare this with another book aimed at kids, so I'll use, actually, let me go get it right now. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Let me compare it to this book, Legend by Marie Lu. Now, granted, Curse of the Night Witch is aimed at 10 to 12-year-olds, and this book is aimed at like 13 to 15-year-olds, so kind of different, but I don't read enough middle grade for something like of exact comparison to immediately come to mind. And they're both books aimed at younger kids with pretty simple plots and bigger worlds, so let's do it. Let's compare this to Curse of the Night Witch. Now, I'm way too old for either one of these books, first of all, but with Legend, I can actually feel the time and care that Marie Lu put into this book. The writing is nice for the most part. The world here feels fleshed out, it feels cohesive, it feels like everything makes sense. The characters don't feel one-dimensional or inconsistent. And it does feel like the author was very passionate about this story throughout the entire writing and editing process. Now, I can't really say the same at all for Curse of the Night Witch. The writing in Curse of the Night Witch is a disaster. It gets worse as you flip through the pages. Like, no, I'm not even joking. The writing quality, like on page one, goes from like up here to like here on at, like the final page. Like, it literally keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse to the point where, like, at the beginning of the story, I was like, oh, it's not the best written, but like this is fun. I'm having fun. This is like really good. I'm having a blast. Like, oh, it's like objectively not the best writing, but like, oh, it's cute. It's very fun. To on the final page being like pulling my hair out over the writing quality. Like, it was so bad. The three mains the three main characters felt flat, and everyone else in the story felt even flatter. I'll get to that later. The way the myths and beasts of the story are implemented feel like she had like way too many ideas and didn't want to cut any of them. And as the story progresses, it feels like the story gets lazier and lazier, and you just get a feeling that like the author just really wanted to be done with it and move on to something else. And you know, I personally feel like kids deserve better than that. I'm so sick and tired of people thinking that they can just like throw together whatever crap story and put it out into the world and it's fine because it's meant to entertain like little brats for a few hours and get them to shut up. I can't say for certain whether that's what Aster was thinking or not while writing this, but I know a lot of people that make kids media and publish kids media feel that way and are just like in it for a quick buck or because they think it's like easier to make content than for older audiences. And I'm gonna say it, that pisses me off. For the simple fact that just because, kids are younger humans, that doesn't mean that they deserve shit stories. Kids still deserve good quality stories, just like adults do. Like, they deserve stories with good plots, interesting fleshed out characters, things that make sense, etc. And that doesn't just go for books either, by the way. It goes for everything: shows, movies, songs, all of it. But that's a different discussion. So let's talk about what else I hated about this book and go into detail about things I said here. So so my second thing that I really had a problem with was, like I said, the myths and beasts and creatures, all that kind of stuff themselves sound interesting in their little lore dump sections between chapters, but when actually in the story itself, they just were not used well at all. Every single threatening beast in this story is only like a threat for like a page or two at any given time. Like, you'll read the myth associated with whatever creature is going to be an obstacle for the kids next, and then it'll be like halfway through the next chapter before that creature actually enters the story, and then it's quickly defeated like a page or two later, and we're done with it forever. Like, some of the creatures later in the book don't even do that, actually. There's this, like, Yeti creature who is supposed to be, like, a devastating threat to this one village if, like, the village's, like, defenses fall. But when the village's defenses do fall in the chapter itself, the Yeti doesn't even make an appearance, and the danger is quickly averted. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Or there was like this face snatcher creature that was like kind of being built up to be like the last major threat before the team faced off against the Night Witch. But then when the face snatcher actually comes into the story, it just like stands around serving to be like just a menacing presence as the main boy Tor is given a test of character. Like, it doesn't even do anything. It just stands around looking menacingly. It was just very, very sloppy with how all of these creatures were used. I think it would have been better to like cut down on the quantity of how many creatures there were, and instead just like have a few either be like reoccurring threats throughout the book, or have like their one appearance just be like bigger and grander and really put the kids through it. Because like all throughout the book it didn't really feel that threatening, like life threatening. It just felt like, you know, okay, okay, this is yet another threat. Okay, bye. Just kind of like that. Next, the plot felt very repetitive. It really did. For like the entire first half of this book, the sequence just goes: the kids go to a new village, they are faced with a life threatening danger, they are miraculously saved by a third party, they are welcomed into the village to restock their supplies, rest, and then they are sent on their way. And repeat, and repeat, and repeat. And then the second half of the book basically repeats going: the kids are in the middle of nowhere, one or more of them are captured by a third party, they must go to a new village and either befriend or escape their captors. They then leave the village to continue their journey. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Is this like the biggest issue in the world? No, it's middle grade. It's okay to be simple. But it was just very, very noticeable, and like the author, it felt like the author didn't really have many ideas for how to progress the plot. I also really hated how in the first half they kept being saved by something else, like a third party just like coming in at like the last possible moment to save their lives, instead of the kids doing things to save themselves. It just removed a lot of agency from the trio. Moving right along, one thing that really annoyed me was how the two best friends, like, suffered throughout this book, and then the main boy just, like, didn't at all. So, in like the last third of this book, when the kids are getting close to finding the Night Witch and they're in this like really dark and dangerous section of the island called the Shadows, the kids really start getting put through it. Well, two of them at least. Angle, the boy best friend and comedic relief, has his curse starts like spreading through his body first, like infecting his veins and shit all throughout his like arms and neck and torso and legs, and it like incapacitates him basically. He can barely walk, struggles to stay conscious, is in infuriating pain for like the rest of the journey. Like it feels like he's like being burned from the inside out alive. The poor boy is just getting tortured from the inside out, basically. And then when they're traveling across a lake to reach the Night Witch's castle, Angle is like grabbed by zombies that live in the lake, pulled underwater for like a good 2 to 3 minutes, and ends up almost drowning and being mauled by the zombies. Like he's bleeding out all over the shore. Then there's Melda, the girl best friend and the smart one of the group, who suffers just as much as Angle, but emotionally instead of physically. Girly is kidnapped at one point and thrown in jail by basically witch hunters that steal people's talents. Side note, that whole section of the book was literally the worst part of the book, like, for a variety of reasons, but I don't really want to get into that right now. Anyway, then she has to give up the color of her eyes to a goblin as payment to get across the like zombie infested lake with no chance of restoring their original color. Then she has this like family heirloom necklace with like magical pure blue liquid that can change whatever the liquid touches into that specific color of blue. And it's been in her family for like generations and is extremely rare magic and is like kind of hinted at to be like the only valuable thing in her family, and they probably need to like pawn it at some point because they're so damn poor. So she has this magical necklace that's been in her family for generations, right? Super valuable, it's super, sentimental, all that kind of stuff. So what happens? She has to smash it at one point to use the magic liquid inside to scare away the lake zombies so they can save Angle from drowning. Like, she literally has to smash the one sentimental thing she carries with her and the one thing that is like has any value for her family that could probably save their financial situation. Like she has to literally destroy it. So she's been kidnapped, lost a piece of herself that can never be replaced, and had to destroy something very precious to her from her family. Now, while Angle is over here suffering physically and almost dying 5 billion times, and Melda is over here suffering emotionally 5 billion times, what the fuck happens to Tor, aka the main character of the book? I'll give you 5 seconds to guess. I'm gonna assume that's been 5 seconds. Nothing! Nothing happens to him. Does he get beat up and tortured like Angle does? No. Does Tor have to make a true sacrifice and give anything up like Melda? No. This boy just goes on the adventure with a few injuries, like as little injury as humanly possible, and then the Night Witch passes on all of her powers onto him because he has like good vibes. So now Tor is the most powerful person on the entire island. And then, let me tell you this. And then the bitch has the audacity to be like, oh my God, I like suffered the most on this journey. Oh my God. Because like now I have all these powers, and in my village, it's like illegal to have more than one gift. Oh my God. Oh my God, everyone in the village is gonna hate me now because I have more than one power. Like I'm special. Oh my God. It's like, shut up. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. No. 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 Motherfucker, your mother is literally the leader of the village. She can just rewrite the laws so that it's not illegal to have more than one magical power, and you're fine. Like, I can't. I can't. The audacity to be like, oh my God, I've been granted all of these godly powers, and yet I'm the one that suffers the most when my friends are dying. Miss Aster, where's the logic in that? Where's the logic in that? Oh, huh? Huh? The story tries so hard to make it seem like he is the biggest victim after this journey when it's like, no, no. On the contrary, he got like the best deal out of all this. He didn't lose anything, he didn't get severely injured, and now he has unlimited power. So, like, why are we trying to paint Tor as the one who got the worst of it in the end? Makes no sense. No, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I did get mad at that. Yeah. Yeah, that did make me mad. Let's move on. Okay, let's move on to something else. Let's talk about how all of the characters in this book are flat. Like, the main three characters, Tor, Angle, and Melda, are quite surface level, but then literally everyone else in the story is so nothing that they can't even be described as one-dimensional. All the side characters just literally have no dimensions. They're not even one-dimensional. They are zero-dimensional. Y'all ever seen that video? I'm gonna insert it here if I can find it, but y'all ever seen that video of like a Mickey Mouse cartoon where it's him and Donald and Goofy sitting at a table starving, and all they have to eat is like this tiny ham, and Mickey slices the ham so thinly that like the pieces are just ghostly transparent wisps of meat and nothing more? Yeah, that's what all the side characters are. Just ghostly, transparent wisps of meat, because there is nothing to any of them at all. Even the families of these kids can't be described as anything more than the parents and the siblings. Even though Tor is like constantly thinking about his family throughout the entire book, like we literally know nothing more about his own family that he is constantly thinking of throughout the entire book. We don't know anything more about them by the end of the story other than mom is the leader of the village, dad is a chef, and little sister can sing. Like that's their only personality traits at all. Like that's literally their only characteristics throughout the entire book. Like that's literally how zero-dimensional all of the side characters are throughout the entire book. That even the family of the main character only gets one or two character traits and nothing else. And Tor, Angle, and Melta are flat as hell also. Now, again, it's middle grade, so do I expect like deeply complex characters with intricate backstories and personalities? No, I don't. I don't expect that. However, I would expect the main characters to have like a bit more to them than just the main character, the smart girl, and the foodie. Especially since the rest of the characters like already have zero personality. So like where did the character work go? Because it didn't go into the main three. It didn't go into the side characters. So where did the character work go? Like give them just a bit little more depth to make up for like everyone else having no dimensions to them. I think the only character in this book who has even slightly more depth than just like surface level is the Night Witch herself. And she's only in the story for like one chapter. Like literally just one chapter. She's introduced and dies within the same chapter. Because at least with the Night Witch herself, you get a morally gray character with some complexity to her. Like, she's evil and loves to curse and terrorize people and turn them evil as well. But she is also fighting against a growing dark force that is coming for the island, which is presumably like the main villain in the second book, but I will never know because I'm not going to read the second book because my library doesn't have it and I'm not going to buy it. So, sorry. And then the Night Witch, like, she fell in love with the author of the person who wrote like this book, who wrote like the book of myths and legends of the island. Like, she fell in love with the author of that book. But then she gave him up for his safety after realizing how dangerous her powers are and that she'll always be towing the line between being a good person and a bad person, and didn't want to put her true love in danger like that for for being around her and associated with her. So the Night Witch herself proves that not only can you have characters with depth in middle grade, but that you can have them in this series. Like you can have characters of depth within the series itself. The Night Witch proves that. So why is everyone else flat as hell? Like, why does the person who gets introduced and dies within the same chapter have more depth than the three main characters who we've been following for the past 300 pages? No excuses. No excuses. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, because it doesn't make sense. And since we're on character discussions, let's talk about how I think the author low-key wanted Melda to be the lead character and then just it didn't make her the lead. Let's all put on our tinfoil hats. Come on, follow my vision. Let's see the vision. Okay. So Tor is the lead out of the three main characters. Like, it's his wish that gets them all cursed, and the story is told from his perspective. Yeah. But honestly, I really think Alex Aster wanted the girl best friend Melda to be the lead. Because just like with Tor, we get a bit of info about her family and personal life, what all that is like. She gets her own character building section in the story when they're in the village with like the giantesses, and she like trains to and like she like has a few training sessions with like some swords and shit, which never comes up again. Like that is never useful in the story at all. But nonetheless, Melda leads a prison break after she gets abducted. She makes sacrifices towards the end with like her necklace and whatever, etc. Like, she's more active as a character than Tor, honestly, because all he really does is stumble from place to place and then confront the Night Witch at the end. Like, that's it. And and I say that like oh she probably wanted Melda to be the main character at some point because like you know compare her role to Angle, who is like supposed to be like of equal importance just to her as her like the hierarchy of this book is supposed to be like Tor, Melda, and Angle, and then everyone else. Melda and Angle are supposed to be like of equal importance, but like Tor is supposed to be just a little bit more important because he's like the main character. But it doesn't feel like that. It feels. Let me just say this: Angle doesn't get shit in terms of side activities. Angle doesn't get shit. Like, there is no point in the story where he gets a moment to shine for himself, or like we get like info about his family and personal life. Like, we don't get any of that like we do with the other two characters. Like, I can't even tell you what if he has like a dad or any siblings or not, because the author doesn't even bother get to with him. The author doesn't even bother with him. So basically, even though all three kids have about the same amount of screen time, the author really tries to make Melda Tor's equal in terms of importance. So either A, she just hates Angle, or B, at some point she wanted Melda to be the main character, and like, fine, that's fine. Like, why didn't you do that? It's your book. Like, no one is holding a weapon to your head and like saying you have to make Tora the main character when you clearly wanted Melda to be the main character. So just make her the lead. Like, I don't understand. I don't know. Is it like the biggest thing in the world? No, but it was just something that I really noticed that I just wanted to make note of. Like, I just found it weird. All right, let's talk about something else now. Let's talk about how there are way too many ideas in this book. There really, really are. From like all the different beasts and creatures she's trying to work into the story, from like all the 5 billion villages, from like all the different like subplots that she's trying to work into the story. There's like, just like 5 billion ideas in here, and it just felt like Aster threw in every idea that came to mind, and no one in editing like sat her down and said like, "Hey, cut some of this stuff out. You don't need to throw in like every single idea you have into the book. Like, it's okay to cut some stuff." It really is. It really just like gets to a point where she threw in everything and didn't know how to properly give them time to shine or be developed and resolved while dealing with the main plot. So they all just feel like clustered together. Yeah. The biggest example that I can give is the whole thing about like the queen of the second village they visited, telling them to like kill the night witch, and if they don't, then there will be consequences. So in the second village that they visit, they're brought before the queen of that village, and she gives them some supplies to help them on their journey, but in exchange, she wants them to kill the Night Witch, and if they don't, she'll bring hellfire upon them. But Tor really doesn't want to kill anyone, and neither do the other kids, so it causes like a little dilemma. This little side plot just does not work, in my opinion. Because, first of all, how would the queen know if y'all don't kill the Night Witch? Because the Night Witch literally just like stays on her part of the island and doesn't do anything to anybody as long as they stay out of her domain. So nothing will like change on the island itself if she lives. And then the queen's right hand servant is someone with the gift of being like an all seeing, all knowing eye, basically. But it's established early on that people with that power can only do that within the village that they live in. Like their all knowing power doesn't extend to other parts of the island. So literally just don't visit that village again, and the queen will never know if you killed the Night Witch or not. Like literally just don't go to the village again, and she won't know if you killed the Night Witch or not. Like it's just that simple. Hello? Like it's literally just that simple. So already this side plot doesn't work just based on the lore of this series itself. But then what also doesn't work for me with this is how the main three kids deal with it. Like Imelda and Tor don't give a damn. Like they already forgot about that threat immediately after leaving the second village, so they never bring it up again. But Tor is like losing sleep over this because he has this like moral dilemma about not wanting to kill anyone, but knowing the Night Witch is evil and the island would be safer if she were gone. It's like how in Avatar, Aang knows the Fire Lord needs to be defeated, but he doesn't want to kill the Fire Lord because killing people like heavily conflicts with his like air bending, air nomad lifestyle that he was born and raised with. Like it heavily conflicts with that. So so it feels like that like something like that is what Aster is trying to do with this like moral dilemma that Tor has, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't work the same way. Because the thing is, we don't have any reason to believe why Tor has this deep internal fight that keeps him up all night, because there's no reason provided for why he is so deeply against killing anyone, even someone as powerful and evil as the Night Witch. The only, like, scene that we get of him like explaining why he has this dilemma is like just like literally like one page of him being like, it's not honorable, it's not honorable to kill anyone. I'm like it's not honorable at all. Like it really is not honorable. Okay, and what about it? Like, I don't know, kid, go get baptized to wash away your sins after this or something. Because I need a better reason than, oh my God, it's just not honorable. Like, I need a better reason than that for why you refuse to take out the cause of so much evil and suffering on this island if given the chance. Like, I need a better reason. So, like, this whole side quest of being tasked with killing the Night Witch and being threatened if they fail just doesn't work for so many reasons. And it's so clear it was just thrown in to try and, like, create some internal conflict for Tor. There are other things in this book that I think could have been, like, thrown out in editing, but this video is already probably getting a bit long, and I have, like, one or two more points to get through, so let's move on. Finally, I really don't like the moral of the story. I really, really don't. The moral of the story that Alex Aster was attempting, it's trash. It really is trash. I don't think the moral of the story is a good message for kids. I don't even know if she like meant this to be the moral of the story. Like I'm not sure if this is what she meant it to be, but like let me just explain. What is the moral of the story? At least what I got while reading it. Like, I don't know if this was her intended message, but this is what it felt like was the message of the story when I was reading it. Be happy with what you're born with in life and wanting anything else in life, like a different life, different things for yourself. You should feel guilty about that and just learn to accept what you're born with and given with at the start of life. That's literally what the moral of the story felt like to me. Let me explain. So, throughout the book, Tor is fighting with himself because he feels guilty for not just learning to like his leadership power that he was born with, and feels guilty for wanting a different talent and wanting a different life other than the one he's being trained for. Yeah, that is like the worst message to send the kids. that if you want to be something or someone different than what you were born to be or that your parents want you to be, that you need to feel guilty about that and should just learn to accept what you're born with. Now, first of all, when I write it out like that and like read it through, it sounds like a book J.K. Rowling would put out if she wrote Harry Potter today, if you know what I'm saying. If you know what I'm saying. Like, I don't know about Miss Aster. I don't know anything about her, really. So I'm not accusing her of being transphobic or anything, nor do I think that was the message that she was trying to send out with this book. I think like the actual like message intended for like that section of him feeling guilty about like all that stuff and like learn like wanting to like learn to accept his leadership talent or whatever blah blah blah. I think she was more so talking about like how like if your parents want you to grow up to be a doctor, for instance, but you actually want to be a singer, but your parents would never support that dream, then you just need to follow your parents' dream and become a doctor instead and like give up on singing. Like I think that's more so what that whole internal plot line was talking about, but but even still, that is still the worst message you can give to kids to just like give up on their dreams for something different and accept the life that they have and that their parents want them to have. Like that's like the worst message you can give to kids. Sweetie, sis, honey, ma'am, girly, lady, author. Why would you do that? Why would you write that in? No. No. And I feel like if you asked Alex Aster about this, she would vehemently deny that that was the message of the book. But like, why does Tor always feel guilty about wishing for a different talent because he doesn't want to lead his village when he grows up? And why does no one at any point tell him, hey, don't feel bad about that. It's totally okay and normal to want different things, and you should pursue your dreams. Like, why does nobody tell him that? And we don't hear about anyone in the society that was born with one talent that didn't want to go into that profession associated with the talent, so they choose a different life path for themselves. Like we don't hear about people like that. Sure, there is this like one village of people that do something similar. Okay, so everyone on the island is also born with specific markings on their hand and arms that determine like what kind of life they'll have, like if it'll be nice and quiet or filled with torment, etc. Again, going back to way too many ideas, and some should be cut because we really didn't need like two sets of markings with different meanings on people. Like I don't know. Anyway, this like one village of people in the book like burn away their like lifeline markings because they feel like people put way too much focus on them to either like follow them or break them instead of just like living life. But like that's different. That's different than people being born with like magical talents, like a medical talent, for example, and then growing up to be like, I don't know, like a painter. Like, that's different, you know? Like, we don't see anyone in this book or in this society, like, choosing a career for themselves that is, like, has nothing to do with the talent that they were born with. So I just have to assume, much like people born with multiple talents, people that want to choose a different career than what they are destined for also get shunned and kicked out of society. Like, I just have to assume that. And that is once again such a terrible message to send to kids because, like, what the actual fuck? What the fuck? Even in the end, when Tor is granted all the powers that the Night Witch had, he still no longer has his leadership talent that he was born with and wished away, and he still is made to feel guilty about wanting something else. Like he's still made to feel guilty about wanting a different life for himself, even now after having been granted the powers of the universe. Like, really? 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 Even after all this, he still feels bad about wanting something different for himself instead of just like accepting what he was born with and learning to live with it, even though it'll make him miserable. Like, no, no. I hate the message of the story. I hate the moral of the story. I don't know if she intended for that to be the moral of the story, but that is the moral of the story, sweetie. I don't know what to tell you. It's a horrible message to send to kids. Get it off my page. And why did no one in editing like read this and be like, we want to look at that again? We want to look at that again. Okay, do we want to look at that again? Okay. Anyway, speaking of the ending. Okay, speaking of the ending, just real quick, and then we can like end the video. How is no one in the village suspicious about what happened while those kids were gone? Like, y'all just disappear for a week and your mothers also then go missing trying to find y'all, which includes the leader of the damn village and her son. Like, y'all go missing for a week, and then Melda comes back with gray eyes. Tor's mom comes back with gray hair because, you know, on one of the things on the because of one of the things on the journey of like you remember from earlier in the video. You remember. Tor is wearing long sleeve shirts now all the time to hide his different magical tattoos, and no one is questioning all of this. Like, no one is questioning why y'all came back like this. Like, no one is curious what happened in the week the chiefess and her son, who is being destined to be the future leader of the village, by the way. Like, no one's questioning why y'all went missing and why he now only wears sweaters and hoodies when it's like 100 degrees outside. Like, no one is questioning all this. And what about towards education? Okay, so in this society, the schooling system, education is like tailor made to like fit whatever talent you're born with. So like people born with the leadership emblem are mainly take like history and political science classes, like that kind of stuff. People born with like a chef tattoo mainly take culinary classes, stuff like that. Now we can talk about how like that makes no fucking sense. Like the schooling education system in the society makes no fucking sense for a variety of reasons, but that's not the point of this section. So like what's going on with towards education now? So if everything is like tailor made to like fit your talent, like your education is like tailor made to accommodate your talent, what's he doing now? Like, is he still taking typical political and history classes to one day become leader of the village like he did before, even though he doesn't have the leadership emblem anymore? Is he taking all kinds of different classes and education paths to accommodate his multiple new powers now? Like, what's going on? I'd assume the former, because instead of his mother like changing the laws to be more accepting of people that have multiple talents, she just tells him to hide his true self and cover up his new magical tattoos so the family doesn't look bad in the public. Like, get in the closet, kid, get in that fucking closet. Which, again, you're not looking good with these messages you're sending out there, Miss Aster. These messages that you're sending out there, you're not looking good with them. I'm sorry. Like, no. No. Like, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, honey, but at this point, I would not be surprised if someone found like an old Twitter or Tumblr account where you were calling LGBT people slurs. Like, I would not be surprised. Like, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt right now, but like, I would not be surprised with these kind of messages that you're sending out. Like, maybe I'm looking a little bit too much into this, but like, it's not looking good for you in my eyes, honey. But yeah, the ending just like doesn't make sense either. Like it the ending really does just open up like a billion questions, not even ones that are like, "Ooh, what happens next?" But just like what about the rules of the lore of this book? Like that's the kind of questions that the ending leaves open for this book. Like what happened to the rules of the lore of this book? Yeah, so overall, it's just a really shitty book. It really is. And I understand why y'all say Alex Aster can't write. Like, ma'am, I'm sorry, but go get a refund on that English degree. Like, 'cause no. The plot on paper is cute and standard, but like in practice, it falls apart. The characters are extremely flat. The ending leaves more questions than answers. The message of the book is awful, and the writing gets worse and worse the further you get in the book. where once again, it just feels like she gave up on this project about halfway through and just started spitting out whatever on Microsoft Word until she finally got to the end. And then, like, where was the editors? Literally, who edited this book? Because you didn't do your job either. Like, how, how, how did we go? What was the first draft of this book? Because how is this the final edited draft? How is this the final edited product? What was the first draft of this book like? Because I, I, I refuse to believe that this had more than like 1 or 2 rounds of editing. Like, no. Will I read the second book? No. Unless this video like does very well in the algorithm and like blows up my channel, I'm not gonna read the second book. Will I read Lightlark? Once again, no. Unless this video like miraculously blows up my channel and y'all want more from me. Like, I'm not gonna read Lightlark unless that happens, honey. Also, like, I just want to say, I think at this point I've put out my like booktube newbie tag video, so go watch that. But like I said in that video, like, why is it that the books with the prettiest covers are always so bad? Like, every single time I see a book with a gorgeous cover that makes me want to read it no matter what, I always end up either like hating it, like I do this, or just feeling meh about that book. Like, I don't understand. Why are the books with the prettiest covers like not great? I don't understand. Anyway, that's it from me. Let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on Lightlark if you've read that book and whether it's like better or worse than this book, which, by the way, I didn't even get to this, but just reading the description of Lightlark, like just like reading the description like on Goodreads, there were like quite a few similarities that I found between it and this book, at least in theory, at least on paper. Like, I don't know like if they're like very similar in practice, but at least like on paper, I found like at least like three or five different like similarities but between this book and Lightlark, at least from reading the Goodreads description of that book. So that was interesting. I didn't even get to that, but yeah. If you've read Curse of the Night Witch, let me know your thoughts on it also. And if you've enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.